Welcome back to the channel. We are doing deep dives into the main characters of Vanderpump Rules that made an impact during the reunion. So we've done an episode on Raquel, and tonight we're talking about Tom Sandoval. And if you're new here, my name is David Colarossi. I'm a licensed psychologist, and at night on YouTube, I react to pop culture phenomena like Vanderpump Rules. So before I talk about Tom, I think it's important for me to remind you that I cannot diagnose from afar. I've never met Tom, I've not seen enough of the show. I have no information really to give a true diagnosis for him. What I am talking about tonight is somebody that presents the way that he did during the edited version of the reunion. That's all of the data that I am working with.
I've never body shamed Ariana.
So
it had nothing to do with her body or anything.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
Unenthusiastic.
Yeah.
Like, if somebody wanted to have sex with me and I just unzipped my zipper and said oh, hurry up, I gotta meet somebody for lunch.
Yeah.
It was more about the enthusiasm.
Okay.
Now, as it relates to Tom Sandoval, it seems like everybody on the internet thinks that he's a narcissist because, candidly, he shows a lot of the characteristics or the behaviors that fit that diagnosis. So, he's got an inflated sense of self, I think. He has a strong need for attention. He's obsessed with fantasies of success. He lacks empathy and compassion. He can manipulate and maneuver people, right? All of these things fit that narcissistic sort of diagnosis. But those behaviors also, you could argue, would fit someone that is just an arrogant jerk. So the question is, does Tom meet the diagnostic criteria for narcissism, or is he just a jerk? So I'm going to explain the diagnostic criteria for narcissism, and you can sort of evaluate, do you think it fits for Tom or not? So first, for any diagnosis of a personality disorder, the behavior pattern has to be present in multiple areas of somebody's life. It has to be pervasive. So for example, if Tom is just mistreating Ariana, that's insufficient. He has to mistreat Ariana and also be mistreating his friends, also be mistreating his coworkers, so on and so forth. So that's the first thing. Now, the reunion is a pretty narrow slice of Tom's life, but I thought it was really clear that he mistreated his friends, like James and them felt mistreated by him. Ariana certainly felt mistreated by him. So to me, there's a pattern revealing itself there. In addition to that, narcissists are overly dependent on others as a reference point to evaluate their behavior. So let me say it this way. Someone who functions in a more healthy way can independently, outside of everybody else, can independently look at their behavior day to day and say, hey, did I behave the way I wanted to today or not? Was it right or was it wrong? Was it good or is it bad? But a narcissist doesn't have that strong of a sense of self. So what they do is they are constantly comparing themselves to everybody else. And so essentially what happens is narcissism comes from a place of deep insecurity. You don't have a solid foundation, and so you sort of create this thin veneer of being fantastic and stronger and better than everybody else. It's a protective veneer so that no one finds out that you really don't feel that stable. So as part of this, you move through the world in a way that is less about who do you want to be, what's good for you, and more about, well, what do others think? So thinking about that, how many times during the reunion did Tom compare himself to everybody else in the room? Yeah, but Lala did that. Yeah, but James did that. Yeah, but she wore that to bed, right? It's a constant comparison. He's finding his sort of his principles or his ethics by just bouncing them off of other people in the room. And with narcissists, often what happens is that when they appraise themselves, they inappropriately bolster their own ego. Yeah, but you did that and I'm better than you. And you did that and I'm even better than that, right? It creates this sort of delusion of grandeur because that comparison is oftentimes not very accurate. Next, I think one of the most important characteristics of narcissism is the inability to genuinely create an intimate relationship with another person, to genuinely have a connection, to genuinely feel empathy. I don't know what the course of the relationship looked like with Ariana, but in the reunion, I thought he showed a remarkable inability to really understand what other people were experiencing. So for example, the comment about her wearing her shirt when they had sex. He said that, and the world goes, are you out of your mind? Schwartz is next to him like, oh God, please don't say that. It was Andy Cohen's going, this is going to make every woman in the world angry at you. Like it showed a remarkable lack of awareness on his part. Like he's on the show trying to defend himself, and yet he's attacking her. I think it happened for two reasons. One, he had a narcissistic injury. He had been picked on, and he does not have a strong sense of self, so he could take it only for so long before he lashed out. And I don't think that he really understood what he was saying and why he was saying something that was so offensive, which goes back to the clip I showed you in the very beginning. Even now, after all the pushback, he looks at it and thinks, they must be mad because they mistakenly believe that I was body shaming her. No, they're mad because you think that your girlfriend of 9 years needs to put on a show every time you sleep with her, right? But he doesn't understand that. He doesn't understand how dismissive he was. He doesn't understand how that would hurt her. He doesn't understand the impact of that, because I don't think, at least based on what we saw, that he truly had a close emotional connection with her. And then the last thing that's, I think, a hallmark of narcissism is the inability to get better. So someone that is selfish, when they hear you're being selfish and they reflect on it, they will make an effort pretty quickly to change their behavior. Once they recognize it, they can change it. A narcissist has a much harder time self-reflecting enough to really recognize that their behavior should change. And so they are much more treatment resistant. I don't know if Tom's gone into treatment or not, but that would be sort of the final sort of straw here that would point to, hey, this person fits more in the narcissistic category than they do in the jerk category. All right, so I hope that helps give some structure around kind of how a clinician might think about narcissistic behavior. And to be really clear, I am not diagnosing Tom Sandoval. I cannot diagnose from afar. I don't know Tom Sandoval. I'm just talking about kind of how a clinician might think about behaviors to make that diagnosis. All right, I'm going to be nicer in this one because I don't think that this woman was trying to be mean or troll me. I think I genuinely disappointed her, and I feel bad about it. So her first critique was, you're talking about all of these people on Vanderpump Rules, and you've not watched enough of the episodes to really know the history of what's going on. I think it's a fair critique. I'm just reacting to the reunion, so certainly my perspective is limited. So I'll give that to her. And then she says, you're a psychologist. Why are you making dirty jokes about the women's nails? So in a previous YouTube video, I asked the question, like Lala has 2-inch nails, and I asked the question, well, how do these women go to the restroom in a hygienic way when you can't even close your hands? She didn't think that joke was very funny. But I think it brings up a fair point, which is, I am a psychologist, and I work in a very, my day job is a very professional day job. And then here I am at night doing this sort of fringe pop culture thing on YouTube. And how do these two things go together? How can I shift hats? So let me say this. If I did a video on how to diagnose narcissism on its own, I think nobody would watch it. But I think if I do a video on how to diagnose narcissism and I do it in reference to Tom Sandoval, the video you just watched, I think a lot more people will watch it and find it interesting. So for me, this is a platform to educate and share something I am super passionate about, which is psychology. I am using, very intentionally, pop culture as a backdrop for discussions about psychology. So that's why I do it. I understand some people may not like that, but that's why this channel exists. So let me know what you think in the comments below. Like, subscribe, all those YouTube things.